thought it would be a good idea if we just, first of all, we need to introduce ourselves. But this is our first recorded podcast. We've got to learn to look at the camera.
Yeah.
So I know that we're not going to be good at that. But I think what we're wanting to accomplish, and we're not even sure, but it's all going to be about just what we talk about on a daily basis. I mean, we're normal, average East Texas guys, and we got some pretty strong opinions, but I think our opinions are pretty spot on for the whole world. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't think we're out of mainstream.
I think we're the 90%ers.
I actually think we are too.
I do too.
So I'm Rocky Christenberry, and I work with these two guys for many years now, and we've kind of gotten to know each other. We have a pretty good banter back and forth. So I'm hoping that we can take what we have discussion on a daily basis and possibly share with the world. Maybe we can make the world a little bit better place.
Right. I'm Dane Easley.
Look at the camera.
I'm a father, and like Rocky said, we've worked together for years. I agree with him 110%. I think we have something to offer. In fact, there are quite a few people that have told us that we have something to offer because we do have opinions, and we understand everybody has opinions. And we're, from our experience, 150 years between us of just living life and having children and working and all of our relationships and experiences. And we do have a lot in common, but we also don't have a lot in common. So there's some diversity here. And I think that's what we're about. That's what this is about.
Wrap it up.
I did. I just wrapped it up.
Yeah, Dane's always long-winded.
Yeah, he's long-winded. You get the light over here.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm
Yeah,
Michael
put the
Roberts.
spotlight on you. Tell us everything. We know that. Dane, don't share any of this, and then the spotlight goes on, and he's like blurts it all out. I mean, that's Dane.
Yeah, for the FBI, I'm the guy that you come to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Michael Roberts. I'm the third man of this trio. I'm a father, a husband, and the devil's advocate to this group. I have been for, I don't know, 12
Maybe the devil.
I've been agreeing with Dane for the last 13 years, but I have also disagreed
A lot.
with every conversation we've ever had, just to kind of give a different perspective of
Right.
what he is so strongly believes. And,
It's changed me
Rocky-
very little.
Rocky has sat behind me, so I've always had to turn and look backwards to talk to Rocky, but it's a little different now, and I just want to talk candid.
So you're saying it's okay you can actually disagree and still be friends?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
There's a
there's
new
been
concept for the world.
There's been a few heated conversations, and people have opened our office door and thought we were actually in the floor fighting, but we weren't.
We're not getting a divorce.
We're not getting a divorce. We're just in a disagreement.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think it'd be nice to have a conversation and have disagreements that we can work through and talk through, and maybe somebody can get something from it.
Well, and we can show people how to have a conversation where everybody's not on the same page. Everybody doesn't believe the same way. Everybody doesn't agree with everybody. It's okay to disagree. If you want a marriage to work, you gotta be able to be okay with disagreeing sometimes. And there's also compromises that have to be made in every aspect of our lives. Do we all have what we want out of life? No. Are we satisfied and comfortable and have the security that we want? Pretty much. I mean, we all are content, I guess. Probably not satisfied, but content. And that all goes to the point I was trying to make, is that we're all different. We need to be able to.
I was going to say, I think that, many of our listeners today, all three of them, may not agree with you.
Oh, really?
May not agree with you that they're satisfied and content.
Yes. No, and that's what I'm saying.
I think we are.
Yes.
I mean, I think among us three that we are, but I don't know how common that is.
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to say, is I think we have something to offer just from our experiences, where we can say, hey, you're going to have to find happiness in what you have and quit wanting what's all over there.
Do you think our time together that we've spent over the years, talking back and forth and you know, we've been lots of miles together.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, do you think that affords us the opportunity to work through things a little easier
Yeah.
than, say, somebody you see at the grocery store and you're disagreeing about what direction you're going to go? I mean,
Totally does, because a good example is just this last week I reached out to you guys and was having the whole discussion about what are your boundaries, right?
Right.
I wouldn't just go into somebody's grocery store and say, okay, can you tell me what my boundaries are?
Right.
But
they would probably tell you right there.
yeah,
That's your
yeah.
boundaries.
You don't get any closer. Don't get
Back
any
up.
closer. But
You're in my bubble.
you know, what are my boundaries? And then we can have a discussion among ourselves. What are the boundaries that we put on ourselves?
Well, see, it was
and
confusing.
I respect to hear that back from you guys.
It was
Right.
confusing to us because we kept going back to morals,
Morality, yeah.
morality. What are your boundaries? You don't have any boundaries.
No, the moral and ethical are boundaries that are there that, in my mind, they come from God.
Right.
But you know, some of us are upbringing.
Right.
When we start, especially when we get ethical. But when things just aren't right, and I think we all know what right is.
Mhm.
That's not what I'm talking about. Boundaries. Those boundaries need to be honored. They need to stay there. If there's a questionable ethical thing, you should have a discussion about it with someone.
Right.
You know, is this real or not, and work through that. But I'm talking about the boundaries that we place on ourselves on an everyday basis. You know, can I do X? Can we do a podcast?
Right.
That's a boundary.
Dane and I have been talking about this, and you've been a part of the conversation forever, doing a podcast. I mean, we have laughed and we've yelled and we've agreed and disagreed many of times, but we've always shook hands and we worked through it, and we knew that we could do something. And I'll say the only boundary that I have is fear. Through that conversation we had, I realized the only boundary I have is fear, because know-how, that's not a problem. You know, fear.
Well, and I'm going to say that's probably 100% of everybody's limitations.
I think it's the core. It's the core boundary.
Fear is a factor, and what we've established is mutual respect for one another here, and I think that's right there is an example for everybody else. If you don't respect the person you're debating or having a conversation with or engaging, it's hard for you to understand. You know, there's a whole saying, walk a mile in my shoes. That's respect. If you can walk a mile in someone else's shoes, then that means that you respect them enough to say, hey, I understand, I have empathy, I have sympathy. And I have that because I respect you. Maybe not, I don't know you, but I respect human life enough that
That's
I'm
the
going to set
problem right
you.
there.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at a while ago. I could, and you as well, we have our beliefs, and our beliefs are rigid. I mean, it's human nature. What you believe is what you believe, and and somebody you have no vested interest in, somebody that you really don't know, you won't. Most of the time, you're not going to relax how rigid you are about something. So you can argue with them all day, and then when you walk away from that
That's
conversation,
my whole thing in politics, right? So most of the time, the debate in politics, it's not for the two people. It's not for the two people. Neither one is going to change the other's mind most of the time.
Right.
They do debates in public
To persuade.
to persuade the public.
Right.
And hopefully someone will go, oh, I get what he's saying. But those two people, those two individuals in a debate, they're not likely to
Be
move
persuaded.
whatsoever.
Right.
he's not going to say,
Whatsoever.
you're right.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you know what? That was an epiphany I just had thanks to you.
It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
A debate is a confrontation.
Exactly.
It really is. It's a confrontation.
It's a verbal fist fight.
It really is. And if you want to win someone over to your thinking, that if I want to win you over your rigid ideas and my ideas, it's not going to be in a debate situation. It's most likely going to be in a life situation.
Right.
One of you's got to be willing to soften up a little bit.
Compromise.
Well, you're going to have discussions on you just hit on it, right? you're going to find the commonalities.
Exactly.
between you.
Common ground is where
I mean,
we.
that's what's wrong with our country now.
You have
It's
to.
like no one looks for the commonality. There's certain things that we all agree on,
Yeah.
but we're too busy driving the wedges with the things that we don't
Agree on. Exactly. So here's the deal. To build a house, you have to have a foundation. And, it has to be solid. And where do you get a solid foundation? I mean, how do you build a
Of
solid
course, my belief is God.
Right.
That's where the solid foundation
That's-
comes.
That's exactly. But we also find what we need in common that we can build and make solid. I mean, it takes same thing every single time to build a foundation.
Yeah, because I mean, there's probably out of the three people listening, there could be a fourth one that doesn't believe in God,
Right.
And is go, oh, forget that. But that fourth one, if you say, well, is love important? They're probably going to say yes.
Yes.
My belief is love comes from God. But
Right.
Absolutely.
okay, so you don't believe in God. So let's talk about love, because I love you. You apparently maybe you don't love me as a non-Christian, as a non-believer, but you believe in love. So let's work from love. There's our common ground.
Right.
There's a place that we can work.
And then the next thing would be understanding. You don't love me because you don't understand me.
Yeah.
And we had that conversation earlier about some of the things that are going on that I do not understand. I can't wrap my mind around it. It's hard for me to reconcile with some of the changes that are happening. And I feel like my dad or my granddad when I was growing up, and they're, y'all wouldn't have made it back in my day because none of this stuff would have gone on. And I'm like, oh God, I just said that just the other day. I'm my dad now.
Does every generation say that?
Yes.
I mean, does everyone? I mean,
Yeah.
my generation was different. My dad's generation was different than my granddad's generation.
Let's just put it in this perspective.
Heck, my generation is different than your generation.
Well-
at work, we all know that when you started at work, things were different.
Right.
And you can walk in that shop now and you can go, whoa,
This wouldn't have happened.
this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Well, at some point,
There was
have to-
compromise.
There was compromise.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Right.
And do you don't give up your beliefs. I'm not giving up any beliefs. I'm a Christian and I believe one way. But I'm not you, and I'm not you, and I'm not somebody else. So what goes on in their life, you have to let them find what you only live one way. And if you live a Christian life, and people can look at you and say, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why he is what he is or why he's doing what he's doing, but it's working better than what I'm doing. So do I want to?
So
That's a
just
witness, an example.
all the way back to you don't create a debate to win the person
Right.
over. You what you do is you live out your beliefs,
Right.
and those around you can see how you're living, and they can make a choice. Is that better than what I'm doing?
Right.
I mean, that's really it, because we can debate even as Christians. I mean, you are what you are, you believe what you believe, but even inside those beliefs, we can have arguments.
Right.
I mean, the whole Baptist drink or don't drink thing, right?
Exactly. No, and I mean,
So, pretty common argument.
And I brought some things to Dane's attention, lately about, the whole Adam and Eve thing. I mean, how many were there? Cain killed Abel. And he was marked so the people wouldn't kill him. Well, who's the people?
right. Yeah.
So we all see things differently, and like you said, we just have to agree to disagree sometimes.
Well, yeah, and that's it. The thing is, being able to understand someone else. Being able to, well, not necessarily understand, empathize. Look, I understand you feel this way about. You're passionate about how you are, and I've been in debates with people that are just so. I think I'm going to persuade them. that's me. I'm too naive to realize I don't have enough ammunition to shoot somebody else's bad idea down. So what I'm gonna have to do is say, just like you said, we can agree to disagree, and say, hey, I'm not knocking you. I don't hate you. I don't want you dead. But I keep hearing all this stuff about hate, and I think one of our biggest problems in this country is definition. People don't understand what words mean. We need to get back to the basics and the root of things and say, hey, this is what this word actually means. Hate means I want you dead. It is an abomination in the Bible to hate someone because it is.
No, I wasn't allowed to use the word growing up.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
My dad's like, you don't say that word.
Right. And now it's
You
common.
didn't use hate and you didn't use the word kill.
Kill.
I wasn't allowed to say, if we're talking about animals, supplying meat for the freezer,
Right.
you could use the word kill, but never in regards to other humans.
Right.
The value of life was important.
Exactly. And the sanctity of life was important. But now it's so common to hear someone say, oh, hate. No, it's not hate. How do you know what's in my heart? You have no idea. You can't put that on me. That's a projection of you. And that's the point where I want to shut down. And then I have to say, oh, look, they're not educated. They're ignorant. They don't know what hate means. And I'm going to try to educate them. And then if I can't educate them, I'm going to try to be a good witness. And by that, I'm going to draw back and
But
say,
you got to know them good enough that y'all can make fun of each other.
Exactly.
Because I'm not sure why Mikey has two pair of glasses, one on his pocket and one on his eyes. I mean,
You mean
I don't
explain
really
it?
get that. Well, I think you're going to have to because these people don't know you. I can probably pretty much guess
Because
that you need 4 eyes,
I can see your face,
6 eyes.
but I can't see my phone. So when it's time to look at my phone, it's right here, just like this.
Okay.
there you go.
So
I have a magnifying loupe that I could bring in for
Well,
you
I
next
had one of
time,
those, but
with a
it's a-
light on it.
it's a little too.
You know, they also make these things called bifocals, which are pretty handy, brother.
They also have this thing called mind your own business.
I'm just saying, I don't think that was an excellent example of what we were just talking about. No, I'm kidding.
I think that though, trying to find a way to share who we are is sort of the goal of this podcast, and maybe if you're listening, we're not debating anyone
Right.
except ourselves right here,
Right.
And if you're listening, you're going to get a little bit about what we believe. You're actually going to get a whole lot about what we believe.
Exactly. Our opinion.
But I believe what we believe is mainstream.
Okay.
And I guess the success or failure of this whole idea of doing this podcast could have to do with that.
Right.
If we find out we're the minority, only 5%,
I'm going to be real disappointed.
Yeah.
But
exactly
We'll
right.
see how-
Or it could just be boring to the ones that are mainstream. So I guess we could fail either
this
way.
is nothing new, man. I already knew all this.
But you know what I think? Here's what I think. So my whole thing is I watch what's going on in our country today. We're losing our country.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
to me, we're losing our country. I mean, our country, I fear for my grandkids. I mean, maybe my kids, right? It's happening really fast before our eyes. And what I believe is there is a small percentage of our country that is leading us down this road.
I feel like
And the
we're
problem-
prisoners in our own.
The issue is though,
Country.
is I feel like I can do nothing.
Right.
I mean, we feel helpless. We're watching this circle the toilet,
Right.
and there's nothing we can do. And I think this is our attempt to be able to try and make an impact. I don't know where this goes. I don't know how we do that, but we have to rise. We have to stand up. The majority, if we are truly the majority, we have to stand to save our country, or
Right.
our grandkids are not going to grow up.
Exactly. And the reason why we feel like we have something to contribute is because in our daily lives at work, we're problem solvers. That's what we do. We solve problems. We ain't going to solve every problem that's out there. But I'll tell you what, we may have a solution for a lot of the problems if we can just sit here and say, hey, this is how we can fix it. This is where we start. I mean, we have found.
You mean spending money that we don't have is not a good idea?
No, it didn't work in. Hey, you know as well as I do, Mikey. It didn't work in my life.
It doesn't work
personal
in
life.
anybody's personal life, but somehow our government thinks it's a
Right.
wonderful idea,
Super.
especially on the way out near lame duck section.
Well,
Yes.
here's what we need to do. We're pretty crafty.
Right.
Let's just make us some printing presses and make our own money because that's what the government's doing. They're making money that's working.
The only
So-
problem is we get thrown in jail for that.
Yeah, we get thrown in jail for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That they get away with
absolutely, and that's part of the thing that we feel like we have no control over, right?
because there's
no
no
one's being prosecuted for anything.
exactly. There's
If-
no
unless
accountability.
You believe like we believe,
Exactly.
we go to jail.
Exactly. There's no accountability for bad behavior. I mean, we are setting in Washington, D.C. right now.
Well, the ethical thing we talked about a while ago, that boundary,
Yes.
apparently doesn't exist.
Exist. No. And especially when money's involved and the kind of money that we're talking about, because we all know that your representatives don't represent you. It's obvious after a $1.7 trillion omnibus that has absolutely nothing to do with America passes in the Senate and the House and then the president signs it. They don't care about you. It's obvious.
Yeah.
They care
They're
about
not looking out for it. They're not tracking their kids to see when they get home.
no. And
No.
they're so what
It's
we
all
need to
about
figure
them.
out is what we need to figure out is how can we fix this? How can we put the right people in those positions that do care what we care about? Or how can we limit the power of those who have been there for 50 years and just keep getting rich and keep, winning? Because they're
Would you
cheating.
call it winning, or would you just call it cheating?
They're cheating. I mean, they're cheaters. I mean, it's obvious they're cheating. They don't answer to the same. Well, heck, for healthcare, when Clinton passed the big healthcare deal, did it affect anybody in Washington D.C.? No. Did it affect you and me? Yes. It still does to this day.
Well, I'll just say this, and I've said it a million times. Not that I voted for him, but Obama was the most popular president for the Democrats ever. And to tell me that the guy that we got in there right now got 81 million votes is an absolute.
Yeah, I don't think many of us believe that.
There's
but,
no
you
way.
know, but we're the bad people.
But that was
Well,
the
We're the basket
beginning.
of deplorables.
That was the beginning of mass cheating.
But here's the thing. We're going to sit here. You play the devil's advocate. I'll play the devil's advocate on this one. Here's the thing. Those votes were not for Biden. They were against Trump. Okay? 81 million people voted against
I
Trump.
don't
They
think
didn't vote
81
for
million voted.
I don't either. I mean, and I'm just saying.
But okay, yes,
we're gonna-
I agree. Among our people that believe like us, there were those who either chose not to vote because they couldn't hold their nose and vote for Trump,
Right.
or they literally voted for Joe Biden. They couldn't stand him that much. They couldn't stand, and that's sad.
That is sad that you could compromise the whole country over something that petty. And
You know, in my mind, those people, most of those people, if they turned off the TV, the policies that Trump put in place, everything he did was spot on.
Right.
In fact, none of those people say, "Man, I can't believe he did this." You
Yeah.
don't hear that from them. They just don't like it.
Well, I can tell you emphatically, excuse me, that I feel like he did a lot wrong. He would not shut his mouth.
right.
Period.
I don't think that was wrong though, Mikey.
I
I
understand,
know.
but the people that y'all are talking about that wouldn't vote for him, couldn't hold their nose to vote for him, if he'd have just shut up and let his actions
Speak.
speak and
Right.
not his mouth.
But see, he doesn't know how to do that.
I think y'all are both wrong.
He doesn't
So,
know.
so my whole thing is, I agree. It's obviously he inflamed with his speech, but it was that speech that brought so much out of the darkness into light.
Right.
If he had not said that, they wouldn't be people standing up saying, "I'm a socialist," and they're just this close to saying, "I'm a communist."
Communists. They are communists.
yeah,
If you say I'm a socialist,
Well, they'll be fine with saying it next. But he brought those people out because they felt like they were losing it, and so they began to speak up. And the things that we wouldn't have dreamed. Okay, think of this. We wouldn't have believed that our freedom of speech would be challenged at all had it not been for Donald Trump.
right.
I mean, he brought it out
He
of the
fast
darkness.
tracked every single
The
thing.
real problems have been there and probably
Yes.
been manipulated for a long time.
Well-
But now we know for sure. Him saying, "Hey, I think my place is wiretapped," and everybody's heads exploded.
Yeah.
Come to find out it was wiretapped.
Well, and that's it. He
Well, you're,
said what you shouldn't say.
What? Can you say that again?
you're,
That's what was unpresidential about him, and that's why they had such a problem with him, because he said what shouldn't be said. And yes, sometimes he said a lot of stuff that shouldn't be said. I mean,
So-
you don't sit there and criticize
So
and
in the middle there, and there's a part of me that's there because my dad would have been there. statesmanship was the big thing.
Exactly.
Right. And so we didn't see Donald Trump as good statesmanship. It's good statesmanship. We're always kind.
Yeah.
And we don't stir up trouble.
Right.
Right. We don't stir up trouble. And I agree that it's part of what's going on in our country today. We talked about a while ago, the internet gives everybody the ability to type something they wouldn't say to someone's face. But the whole thing is, we were headed down this same path when no one was saying a word, and everybody was being statesmanlike. We were losing our country quietly.
Well, and the thing is,
now at least we got a chance to stand.
Yeah, but if you talk about progressives, okay, progress, you know, sometimes it happens over time, and a progressive, that's what they were counting on, the slow, you know, change. Hillary Clinton was supposed to be president, and she was going to continue to do things exactly the way they were done, and then so on and so forth until it got to a point where there could never be another Republican elected ever, because things were so embedded.
Well, that's
and
where we
corrupt.
are right now.
Exactly. I mean, that's where we're getting.
I mean, the whole mail-in votes, COVID.
Yeah.
You know, we can debate whether or not all of this is being used for evil, which
it is.
Okay, I think we all believe that it is. But the whole thing is now they've stacked the deck in such a way all the way to the judges. We learned that Soros money has been putting judges in behind the scenes for years.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been going. They've been building this for a while.
Wow. Yeah.
And so now it appears, I mean, the whole Carrie Lake thing that we talked about this morning, you're not even able to challenge legitimate issues because the judge just throws it out.
Well, and in the first term, I mean, the first year of Biden administration, he had an infrastructure bill. Do you know what that infrastructure was? It's these judges. That's what they're building. And lawyers and attorney generals. You know, they're sitting there putting all this money into corruption. And being able to control, because that's what it's all about. And that goes back to
they all go to Congress, or most of them go to Congress without, you know, two nickels to rub together, and then they leave multi-millionaires.
Right.
In a very short amount of time.
Right.
But if they ever leave.
Exactly. If they ever leave.
If they ever leave. Then we need term limits on both sides.
Exactly.
And by the way, I want to make sure everybody understands. This problem is on both sides.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I don't, if I thought that Republicans were doing everything that they should be doing, I'm naive and a fool, because
well,
I'm
we
going
know
to tell
that
you.
at least 18 of them just jumped on an omnibus bill like
Exactly.
oh, we don't want to miss this train.
Exactly.
Because it had pork that was going into their district, most likely.
Yeah,
or
well,
at least their pocket.
It was an opportunity for them to promote or improve their life. The thing that I have, the issue that I have is
Improve their life, improve their,
they're
Well,
not.
It improves
they're
their
not-
entire family's life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's
Well, I mean, when we say rhinos, Republican in name only, I think, in my mind, responsible Americans are concerned about our future, not their personal life.
well, we don't
Not
even have.
just their personal life. We're concerned about their country.
We don't even have to talk about Republican or Democrat. Just like you said, I'm talking about a patriot. I'm talking about someone who loves their country and loves the freedom that they've been afforded, and the freedom that we've taken for granted, obviously, because you got people now that are willing to give, like I said, compromise a whole country just because a guy sent out a few mean tweets, or just because a guy cut a guy down. Who cares? Who cares? To be honest with you, if things are better for me and my family, and I'm able to support my family and provide for my family better than I ever have, and I'm not saying that they act like, you know, he was out there killing people. They act like he was worse than Hitler. And I'm sorry, Hitler was bad.
Yeah.
He was real bad.
Hitler was bad. Yeah, but he didn't start off that way.
Right.
Right? He started off with cheated elections.
Exactly. Exactly.
He actually was a little bit popular, I think, in the beginning, but he began to take rights away one at a time.
Right. And that's what happens when you leave people in power too long. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's
it
what
seems to be we're on that path, and it's not Donald Trump that's in control of
right.
that.
And
But that's where they keep going.
well, because they control the narrative. They control the narrative, because if we're talking right now, it's hate speech, which again is totally misrepresentation of what's going on here. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate this country. I don't hate Democrats. I don't hate progressives, liberals. I cannot stand what's happening to my country that I grew up in, that I am proud of, and that I love. Because it's not just happening to me, it's happening to you and everybody else. I mean, it's tough. And some of the things that they're trying to implement are just going to be a huge burden on us, and it's going to start snowballing.
You already go to the grocery store and you see the huge inflated prices. You know, the gas has been a challenge this whole year.
Yeah,
this whole year, and it's not getting better.
Right.
And what they have planned going out forward, they're raising interest rates to slow down our spending, right?
Yeah.
Which they put the money in there to start with, but they're trying to slow down our spending. They're trying to make prices too high, so we can't do as much.
Right. And here's the deal: who's spending all the money? I'm not.
Yeah, the
$1.7 trillion.
$1.7 trillion. Is that not going to go into the economy? And is that
inflate everything?
Yeah,
it's
least
just
part of that.
It's just like the infrastructure.
It's
It's the other spending bills that they had previously. The same thing. We're just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in debt. And I have done nothing to contribute to that.
Yes, well, I haven't.
I voted the way I thought.
The thing is, you are not being able to do as much as you used to do. Yeah. So, well, you ain't contributing, but I'll just say it's really just...
No, I'm contributing because I'm a taxpayer. That's the problem.
Right.
That's the problem. That's why it hurts so bad. Because you sit there and you say, I would never waste my money, my hard-earned money on foolishness like that. But the guy that I voted for did. And that's the problem. If we do need to put term limits on all of them, and
I mean, you can't. They're not going to do it to themselves.
No, they're not.
They're not going to do it to themselves. So how do you do that? I mean, what is it? We got to go petition. We got to get it on the ballot so people can vote on term limits.
Right.
But then again, the ballots are going to be counted. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not looking good for us.
But hey, though, it looks good. It's like the Warnock and Walker election.
Until
the recount. He was winning.
Until the mail-in
came. And he didn't get a single mail-in vote.
Right.
And he lost.
Exactly.
It's just hard to beat the unknown.
Exactly. And that all that harvesting, I mean, they know exactly what it takes. There's 8 million people live in Georgia or whatever, and 8.4 million or 8.4 million people voted for Warnock. It's like, how does that happen?
I get your sarcasm.
Yeah. I mean, you're just like, hey, but they were mail-in votes, and I'm not.
Well, I think the whole Fetterman in Pennsylvania thing, I think it was very similar, right?
Yeah.
The mail-in votes was overwhelming. And now we're touting that, I think, who was it, New York Times or whoever said that, oh my gosh, he's the best dressed guy in Washington, D.C. I mean,
Fetterman?
Yeah, they made that. He's a whole wardrobe thing, right?
I would like to see our president and Fetterman have a conversation. It would be great.
Yeah, that would be pretty good.
Yeah,
it would be, a tragedy.
Yeah. Oh, it would, probably make the Time magazine cover or something.
Oh, yeah.
It probably would.
I mean, he looks like the guy off the Munsters.
Or an ogre.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm not.
We probably should edit that.
Yeah, we shouldn't say that. We shouldn't say that. I'm sorry.
That's hate speech.
Yeah, that's not hate speech.
Here I am being not kind.
I will tell you, perfect example of what I just said. There's a blue guy on this movie, Ella Enchanted. Just look it up. The blue guy was an ogre, and I'll guarantee you he would be a twin to Fetterman. That's the reason why I said ogre.
Okay. Well, I've not watched that, so I can't comment on it one way or the other.
So it's not hate speech. It's actually...
No, I pity the guy. I mean, he obviously has some health conditions going on.
He doesn't belong there.
And I don't understand, and I have a hard time reconciling that anyone would, I'm thinking anyone, whichever side of the aisle you are, would think it'd be better to put someone who has some kind of health, mental issue going on in lieu of a doctor that obviously is accomplished. You don't got to agree with everything that he does, but sometimes it comes down to who has good critical thinking skills that can make good decisions, right?
It's about,
make good decisions.
You need a good decision.
That's who our leaders should be. People who can make the good decisions.
People that are...
We elected a guy that we already know is impaired.
Exactly.
Well, impaired.
Well, the whole point, I think, of representatives is you want your best representative, right?
Yeah.
I don't want. I mean, is Pennsylvania that bad that Fetterman is their best representative?
I call one of Pennsylvania friends. I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing up there? And he goes, it wasn't me.
Because that's what I'm saying. A representative is your best representative, and I mean, you don't want to send your neighbor in the trailer park up there to be your
What are you
congressman.
talking about my neighbor?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The guy that didn't go to college, the guy that never had a job, the guy that has never accomplished anything is your best representative? I don't think so.
Well, I think that we just did our intro and we did our first episode. We've been on about a little over 30 minutes now, and I think this is who we are. I think we just captured exactly who we are, and if we can build on this with episodes going forward, then maybe we can make an impact on our country.
Exactly. And influence, in some way, bring back a little bit of patriotism, a little bit of loyalty to this country.
So what we need from you, if you've made it this far, is we definitely need likes. So we got to know, how are we doing? Are we on topic? If you want to make comments, I'd love for you to make comments. That would be fantastic.
Any
Give us
suggestions?
feedback, any suggestions. In fact, we'll be looking for feedback from you guys on topics to discuss, because we'll be glad to take on any topic.
Any
I
topic.
don't think there's any topic we don't have an opinion on.
Exactly. We have opinions. One thing that we do have is opinions, and I welcome any discussion whatsoever if it's going to make things better, because I'm all about education, and I'm not talking about classic sense of education. I'm talking about innate wisdom that's passed down over the years. I used to love to sit and listen to my grandmother tell stories because there was a lot of wisdom in a lot of what she said. And I would love to be able to educate people as best I can on any topic that I possibly can, because the more informed you are, the more educated you are, the better off we all are on any topic, period.
Agreed.
Okay, so tune in next time on the second episode of the podcast that has no name.
Exactly.
So perhaps maybe we start a naming contest. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
So either we'll have a name or you guys are going to choose a name between now and the next airing. So see you next time on whatever we
Whatever we
are.
are.
Called.